Okay, so I'm about to move it in place for overhaul, and had the chance to move the table for the first time properly. And we'll have a look at the ways. Let's see if we can see them decently. Try to get the angle somewhat and the focus. You can see the crossing lines. There are some old scrape marks. And we move along, and they are very, very faint, but they are here and there. It's also a little bit of ridge, so there is wear, but there are also leftovers of scrape marks. And here we are basically at the middle. Now we are quite close to the middle of it. And here there are also some damages, but I think some is actually voids in the casting. I can't really think of much else. And if we look at the other side, it looks a bit similar in wear pattern. Here there is some strange damage from a chip or something been trapped. Oh. But yeah. And the other way, let's see if maybe we can do something like this. There is wear for sure, but the scrape marks are not entirely extinct. So then it just depends on how deep did they scrape. Okay, now I need to move it to the final position. But yeah, here we can see also the bull gear. It's all in good shape, and this is what it looks like with a bit of rust and rust protection oil and goo. And here I just wiped it off a bit. And yeah, it's not mint condition, but I think it's very good. Okay, I cleaned off the rack and cleaned up the wheelbase. Started taking some rough measurements in the straight edge, and now I'm trying to show what it looks like, the surface. It's as always easier to see. Here we have a nice angle with the light. You can see there are scratches and lumps, but there are also remains of the scraping. I'll try to move up to the other one here and see if we can catch some focus. Yes. So you see it's the condition of the wheelbase are quite the same. And now you hear in the background my neighbor has some power motor car. And it's really nice the way they made the long oil grooves. Okay, so here is the indicative measurements I'm doing right now. It's just to get a view of something. There's still too much unknown. But it appears the same as on the other side. But here I have a 5, and over here can't really see it, but there's a 300, so a total of 800 millimeters. Clears it free of the center, so and it appears to be symmetrically, so it appears that we have a bow of about 3 to 4 hundredths of a millimeter arrow height, as to say, in the middle, as we need to put, like, I did a bit more testing on the other side. I just lost them, but 3 hundredths on each end will still be a little bit of drag in the middle. If I put 4 on each end, it will basically clear off. So it's in that ballpark. So we're not too far off. But also, this is not something I can really do any scraping as to fix the geometry or anything, no. Because still I haven't been able to measure the thickness, and I'm not sure, as it's hanging right now, are we having any bow in it. I know when it was upside down on the bed it was very, very straight and flat, but what condition is it right now? I don't know. So I'll come back to the table. It's cleaned up and this and that, and I decided to put some fresh scraping, flaking, I would say. It's not scraping for geometry. It's not supposed to alter any geometry. It's just to get a bit of low spots for some more oil to adhere to the ways. So what I've done here is I just made a crisscross pattern or checkerboard pattern, as Richard King calls it. In the blue area here in the middle, I made 2 passes actually, but don't worry. At least when you want to make a change, 1 pass usually doesn't cut it. And although I have the BIX machine to help me, it's always awkward work and different positions. You're climbing along here and you have different support, so you need to be really mindful of what you feel in the hands and fingers to get a consistent scraping pattern and depth. So that's it's one thing to do it on the table, it's another thing to do it on the floor in the shop on site in situ. So all credits to guys and girls who do this professionally out on site. It's hard work. Cheers. Okay, so this is what it looks like now before we put on the table. I was prepared to lift the table and put it on here, so we can have a walk through. The female wheelbase, they are what they are at the moment. I haven't done anything to them. Once it's down and I take the table off next time, I will use my auto collimator to trace the ways properly in both directions. But right now the conclusion is that they are not in pristine condition, but they are very well within most likely, I would say, serviceable condition and definitely refurbishable condition by scraping, no problem. It doesn't need to be milled or taken to a grinder or something. This is just straight edge auto collimator and the BIX work. Focus now is on the missing piece here for the drivetrain. That's a bit more interesting to get it get all the parts worked through, cleaned up, and see that everything is there, nothing is broken, nothing is missing, and get it running from A to Z. Now let's put on the table. Okay, so finally the table is back on. It took about twice the time I thought it would be here in the morning. So anyway, it's back. It looks nice. I scraped some oil pockets in the table, and I put a straight edge on top of here just to have a look at things. And you remember the underneath of the wheelbase, they were indicating that the male wheelbase was high, so it would be like a bow like that. It looked, but we know too little to really make any clear estimation. So now I just wanted to have a look at what does the top of the surface look like. I thought it looked a bit okay previously when I just cleaned it off, but I mean then it was sitting in dirt and grime and shit and whatnot from before, so it's really now it's starting to be possible to see anything. And here you can see I just put some blue color on the straight edge. So, and you see it's very narrow, and I haven't blued the table, so that's why it's only like in this line, that line, this line, and this line here. And so we can have a look at what does it look like. Yeah, it looks like it's high on the ends. So somehow it looks like the table the profile that could be thought to be found on the other side, it seems to be a little bit present in the top. So you can see that it's now I have the shim stock in there. I'm going to show you, but here you can see it's sitting a bit out on the end here, and then it's sitting over there. So yeah, it's hinging quite nicely. So then I thought we try to estimate how much it is, and if you look actually here, you can start to get an appreciation of what we're talking about. We actually, if I could get out of the light, you see we almost have paint all the way. So let's go back to the other side. And here I put some, I don't know what the inch is, but it's 1/100 of a millimeter underneath it here. And then you can see that the shim stock is moving with it, so it's well in contact, and you can't easily pull it out. You can pull it out, but not easily. Of course, there's a bit of paint, but there is a significant drag to it. If I pulled fast enough, I would rip it off. So, like what we see here, this hole here, it comes to maybe 1/100 of a millimeter over 2 meters. I think that's quite acceptable for the time being. And see where it takes us. Now I will just feed the table in a bit, and so I have the table sitting fully in the wheelbase, and I will try to see if I can squeeze any shim stock in the ends of the wheelbase. It's a bit tricky test, as you could see. The last 5 centimeters here, they're a bit damaged. So I'm not sure it's going to be a relevant test, but we can have a look at it. Cheers. Cross member is actually coming apart quite easily. This is the drive shaft for the compound. It's just to pull it out. The gear is dirty, of course, but it looks in very good condition otherwise. And also here, it's a bit dark to see, but it looks a bit okay. All these bolts just came right out, very nice. And to my surprise, I actually felt on this one a few times before, but now it's just, ooh. Perfect, thank you. And also here, this I wonder if it could possibly be a original part. You see there's a significant difference in amount of rust and a bit of wear, but yeah, I don't know. So I'll rip this off. Okay, here is what's been having me a bit worried for some time. Now I feel a bit much more relaxed about it all. Well, it wasn't a major surface anyway, but this surface here is quite important if you want to plane something straight across. So as it will be moving on that. And you can see here, it's a little bit thick, sticky. So sure, it could be better, but I have a reasonable print most all the way. And we can also have a look. This is always equally important. Have a look at the negative print. And here you can see that, yeah, for sure it's a bit thick color. So it's more indicative. But hey, we're in the ballpark. It's from 1895. For sure, it's not straight edge quality at the moment, but it's not far from, and it will be once I tune it up. But it's not going to be at this point. I just wanted to see that, okay, we're in the ballpark. It's serviceable. It can be used. I'm quite sure a lot of planers have done a lot of good work through the years with much more wear in them. So now it's really cleaning the parts up, getting it back together. I'll be taking down the height elevation stuff. It's actually moving quite nicely. I just opened the lid on top. Now I put the bolts back, but I'll take some pictures later. There are some nice helical gears. Greasing and lubrication regimes are a bit different. Here it's actually open, so this is the shaft end, and right down there you can see it now, but that's the gear. It's plain open, and here are the open lube holes for the shaft. So yeah, we don't do it like that anymore. But on the other hand, it's been around for some time. Then I'll just strip this thing down and clean it off a bit. It's actually working and ratcheting quite nicely, so I'm not gonna spend days on it. It's just to get the tactile off so it's running smoothly and there is no hidden damages or stuff or rust or zerks or stuff. Cheers. clapper box, nice and tight. And put the paper here. And it cuts easily. Here you can see traces of the unfortunate period it went through. How the clapper box have been seated at an angle here while it's been left to rust. So here it's nice and clean, here it's a small bit of pitting, but it's really mainly visual. There is no seeing anything or feeling. Oh, you can feel it a little bit, but it's not a lot. Quarter speeds.